It feels like everybody in my circle is talking about Wicked. And although it doesn't come out for a little bit, I was super lucky to see the movie early. So if you're interested in hearing the thoughts of somebody who really doesn't know all that much about musicals, you're in the right place. What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here. And as I do with all my movie reviews, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about Wicked, who made it, what it's about, all that good stuff. Then I'll go into the things I did and did not like about the movie, the pros and cons. And then finally, maybe I'll let you know who I think this movie is for, if anyone. If that kind of thing sounds cool to you and you want to keep up to speed on all the new big movies coming out, make sure you subscribe. So if you're not familiar with Wicked, it was a musical that's been running since 2002, I want to say. I believe it has the record for being the longest running continual musical. The only reason it stopped was because of COVID. And the story of Wicked follows the Wicked Witch of the West from, of course, The Wizard of Oz, as well as Glinda the Good. And it kind of follows them throughout their upbringing, especially the time they spent at school together. Now, of course, we've seen a number of movies that were based on musicals, and some of those have been successful, some a little less successful, but it really feels like there's a lot riding on this one. This movie iteration of Wicked is directed by John Chu, who has a very interesting history when it comes to directing movies. He started out doing a couple of the Step Up movies and G.I. Joe Retaliation, which was not good at all. But then it feels like he started to get his feet underneath him. He did Crazy Rich Asians, which was insanely popular, followed by In the Heights, which is another musical remake, which again, I thought was really good. So it feels like he's kind of getting his style and bringing these musicals to the big screen. Now, this movie has a killer cast. Of course, there's Ariana Grande, who is playing Glinda the Good. You have Cynthia Erivo playing the Wicked Witch of the West, who, I'll be honest, I wasn't super familiar with prior to watching this movie. But after seeing it now, I'm definitely going to go back and see what other movies Cynthia Erivo's in, because she is incredible. And we'll get to that more when we get to the pros of the movie. You also have Jonathan Bailey in here, who you might know from Bridgerton. Michelle Yeoh has a big part in the movie, and a few other actors and actresses that you're definitely going to recognize. The voice of Peter Dinklage, he plays one of the professors. But yeah, a pretty killer cast. It's, of course, a movie with a big name that comes from a property that is massive, so they really spared no expense. So, okay, let me try to tell you my expectations going into Wicked. As I mentioned, I am not somebody who knows a lot about musicals. I've seen a couple musicals in my time, but really not a lot. I didn't grow up with them at all. And honestly, until my girlfriend started showing me musicals, I didn't really care for them. But I gotta say, I am a convert. Now, I still have a hard time sometimes with musicals because they can be a little over the top and cheesy, but you know, I feel like they kind of have to be, at least a bit. And so although they're not my favorite genre, I do have an appreciation and a respect for them. Now, I was able to watch the Wicked musical online. I wasn't able to go see it in person, but I mean, you can find anything on YouTube. So there was a rip of the stage play online on YouTube. And yeah, I did watch it there. So going into the movie, I had an expectation, I had an understanding of kind of what the movie was going to be about. And I was really curious to see how well they tied it into the actual musical while still kind of giving you all the things that you need when it comes to having an actual movie on screen. You can't just do kind of a one-to-one remake. It just doesn't work. So yeah, overall, I would say I was neutral to positive going into this movie. Neutral in that I'm not a big musical fan, but positive in that from the musicals that I have seen, Wicked is definitely one that I've enjoyed. So, okay, what did I think? What are the pros for this movie? Well, as you can see, I got my notepad here and I've got a long list of pros. This movie, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It is incredible. From the moment that the movie starts, and I'm not going to spoil anything here in this video, but from the moment it starts and you see just the scenery and they're moving through the countryside and some of the villages of the world that they built here, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It's bright and vivid and colorful, but they don't overuse CG. Of course, they're going to have plenty of CG there, but when it comes to the world and the things that you interact with, so the things kind of in your immediate vicinity, it all feels very real. And I think a lot of it was. I think that they had some incredible sets that they built out for this movie. And you can definitely tell when people are really there with real items in their vicinity as opposed to just being on a green screen surrounded by nothing. And so right off the bat, I thought it looked absolutely beautiful. The sound as well, like not just the music, but kind of the ambient noise throughout the movie. It kind of sweeps you up in emotion and just brings you into that world and makes you feel like it's alive. So the atmosphere, top notch. Then you get into the characters. Of course, you have Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo. They're the two kind of co-leads for the movie. And, you know, I respect Ariana Grande. I don't really listen to a lot of her music, but I've seen videos of her and I've seen her performing online, and she has an incredible voice and is very talented in kind of creating or mimicking other voices and things like that. You've probably seen a bunch of videos of her pretending to be like Celine Dion or Britney Spears and all that. And so she has not just an amazing voice, but a really good ear and an ability to kind of recreate sounds. And that totally comes through here. Of course, you have the original cast of Wicked that performed on the stage, and you want the actresses in this movie to pay homage to those performances and to not stray too far from them, but at the same time kind of make it their own, right? You don't want it to just be a cheap imitation of the original singers and performers from the play. And I feel like both Ariana and Cynthia did exactly that. Their voices are absolutely insane. It doesn't make sense. When you listen to them sing, I saw another person talking about this online on YouTube, and they mentioned that when they heard Cynthia Erivo sing, that it made you forget that other people can also sing because you're just so enthralled by her performance. And I feel like that's exactly how I felt when I heard either of them sing, but especially Cynthia Erivo. I think they're both phenomenal singers, don't get me wrong, but it did feel like Cynthia was more attuned to the musical performance, right? Like there's singing, and then there's singing narratively, where you're trying to still communicate like effectively and to get your point across and to be very clear in what you're singing. And I think that Cynthia did have a bit of an edge on that, but we're splitting hairs here. They're both, God tier level singers. And it's not just them. I mean, the entire cast I thought was phenomenal. Really not a weak link anywhere. Michelle Yeoh herself, she'll admit she's not a classically trained singer, but I think she did very well. I think Jeff Goldblum, who plays the wizard, he's, also, I mean, he can sing, but he's not on the level of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. But I feel like the way that they had his performance and the way that it kind of came across for his character totally made sense and totally worked. Also, a character that I was worried about going into this, Jonathan Bailey, he plays Fiyero, who is this kind of just over the top, cocky, flamboyant, kind of douchey, but in a fun way character. And there's just so much there that it could be really easy to mess up. And I didn't know that he was, into song and dance performance, because I've only seen him in Bridgerton, so I don't really know what else is in his repertoire. But I feel like he absolutely crushed that character. You cannot help but love everything that he does when he's on screen. He nails it. Aside from the kind of main cast there, the ensemble, the rest of the people that you see on screen doing their song and dance numbers, I thought were incredibly impressive. They have a number of routines throughout the movie where it's the entire village singing and dancing together, and it's so well choreographed. They really do a good job. You know what it is that they take what you might see on stage, and with a specific set and a location, and you're on stage and everything's locked off, and there's a very specific layout to the shot, to the scene, and they take that and they bring it into this movie, but they breathe more life into it. They make it feel like, yes, there's a very specific set that you're on right now, but just beyond the set is an entire world, and you feel like these characters that are performing for you are performing on a stage that is a part of a much bigger stage. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the best way that I could think to describe it. And that's kind of one of the most important things for me when it comes to a movie, especially a movie that's kind of like in a fantasy world, is for me something that I always consider when I step out of those movies is, do I feel like I want to go back into that world? Do I feel like I want to spend time in that world, that I want to explore that world further? Do I really feel like there's more to explore? Or do I feel like I saw all there is to it and that's it? And this movie does a wonderful job of making you feel like there is just so much more to explore here. There's a scene very early on where Elphaba kind of runs out of the little area that she's in, and she steps off to this kind of like, it's a plain and then it's a cliff, and she runs up to the cliff and you kind of see the expanse beyond where she is. And for me, I just felt like, man, I just want to go there. Like, I don't know what's over there. I don't know what's beyond that horizon, but I just want to go see. Like, it makes you feel like you're a part of the world. I mean, I can also talk to you about things like the costumes. The costumes were absolutely stunning. So much intricate work put into every single one of them, and they were absolutely beautiful. And the set design, as I mentioned before, just felt so real and lived in and colorful and fun and vibrant. This movie, and I'm going to say it like this. I see a lot of movies, right? I review movies on this channel. I see a movie in theaters pretty much every week, and obviously a bunch of movies at home and stuff like that. And there are very few times when I leave a movie and I immediately want to go back and watch it again. I mean, maybe the last movie that did that for me was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Was as soon as I finished that movie, I was like, I want to go back in and watch that again. And this does that. Not only that, but this movie, to me, and of course this is all going to be up to your own individual opinion, but for me, this movie is why you go to the movies. Like, this experience that I had watching Wicked in theaters is what going to the movies is all about. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds over the top, and you might think I'm an absolute idiot for saying it, but it's the truth. I left this movie sounds so dumb, but I left this movie transformed. I laughed, I cried, I felt like there was so much love poured into this, and that love came through the screen and filled my heart while I was watching it. So you ask me, okay, these are all my pros. What cons do I have? None really. I mean, the movie's 2 hours and 30 or 45 minutes or something like that. I would have sat there for another 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's, of course, a part one, so there's going to be more. But, I mean, it's not just a movie. It's an experience. This is the most experiential time that I've had watching a movie in a very long time. And it fills my heart with joy. It reinvigorates my love of movies. And it just kind of makes sitting through all these terrible movies worth it when you get to see something like this. So cons, none. Who do I think this movie is for? Everyone. Of course, if you are a fan of the original musical, there's so much to get out of this. I mean, unless you're one of those grumpy haters who thinks that, you could never make a live action movie out of this, it can only ever be good on stage. If that's you, then you already know you're going to hate it. Don't waste your time. But if you have any space within you to accept and take in something new, and maybe if you're not a fan of musicals, if you're willing to give it a shot, dude, I'm telling you, there is so much to love here, and I think that everyone can get something out of it. So yeah, say what you will about my personal opinion, but I love Wicked. I will watch this over and over again. The moment it comes out on streaming or on physical media, I'm going to be picking it up. This is my favorite movie of the year so far. And if it does not get some award nods, there is no justice in this world. But of course, this is all just my thoughts, my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have you seen Wicked? And if so, do you love it as much as I do? If you don't, that's cool too. I'd love to hear your opinion. I'd love to know why you don't think it's as good as I think it is, or maybe you do. Maybe you think it's even better. Whatever you think, drop down in the comments. Let me know. Let's talk about it down there. Keep it cool. Keep it respectful. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. And of course, if you want to see more reviews just like this, make sure you subscribe. All right, my dude. I'll catch you in the next one. Be good.